No one agrees on when it started. Some say it was decades ago. Others insist it was much earlier. What everyone agrees on is this: there were 8 cauldrons, and then there was a ninth. The place was not famous. It was not hidden either. It was an ordinary industrial site used for years for the same repetitive work. Large metal cauldrons arranged in a row. Heat, steam, noise. People came and went. Shifts changed. Days blurred together. Until someone noticed that one of the cauldrons was always avoided. Not officially. Not by rule. Just instinct. Workers walked around it. They didn't lean near it. They didn't joke about it. They didn't explain why. When asked, most shrugged. It just feels wrong, they said. At first, there were only rumors. Someone claimed to have seen a man standing inside it, not falling in, not climbing out, standing. The story didn't make sense. The cauldrons were deep, hot, constantly in use. No one could survive inside them. That's what made the rumors spread. Descriptions were vague at first. A silhouette, a shape distorted by steam. People blamed exhaustion, heat, long hours. Then the descriptions became consistent. The man did not scream. He did not move. He stood upright, facing forward as if waiting. No one ever described his face clearly. Some said it was burned. Others said it was smooth. Most simply said they couldn't remember it. Only that there was a man, and that he was in the Ninth Cauldron. The number mattered. There were 8 identical cauldrons before it. Same size, same function. But the ninth was different. It was added later. No one remembered when. Old workers insisted it hadn't been there when they started. Newer workers assumed it always had been. Records were unclear. Blueprints showed inconsistencies, as if the Ninth Cauldron had been inserted into the system without documentation. It was functional, it operated normally, but people avoided it. Those who worked near it reported strange sensations, a pressure behind the eyes, sudden nausea, a sense of being watched, not from above, from inside. One worker claimed he heard breathing over the noise of machinery, slow, steady, too close. He stepped away immediately. Later that week, he requested a transfer. He never explained why. Another worker said he looked directly into the cauldron during a routine check. He froze, not out of fear, out of confusion. He said his mind refused to process what he was seeing. There was a man inside, standing perfectly still. The steam moved around him, but he didn't react. No burns, no damage, just presence. The worker blinked. The cauldron was empty. He didn't report the incident. He didn't need to. Others had seen similar things. It became an unspoken rule. No one acknowledged the Ninth Cauldron. They didn't clean it unless forced. They didn't volunteer to operate it. Supervisors noticed the behavior. They dismissed it as superstition. Productivity declined around that area. Accidents increased, minor injuries at first. Burns, slips, equipment failures. Nothing fatal, but frequent. Always near the Ninth Cauldron. Maintenance teams inspected it repeatedly. They found nothing wrong. Sensors functioned normally. Temperature stable. No structural issues. Yet people refused to trust it. One night shift supervisor decided to stay late. He wanted to prove there was nothing there. He positioned himself near the Ninth Cauldron after hours. The facility was quieter than usual. Steam still rose. Machinery still hummed. He watched. Nothing happened for a long time. Then he felt it. Not fear. Attention. As if something had become aware of him. He described it later as the moment he realized he was no longer alone. He didn't see the man immediately. He sensed him. And then, reflected faintly on the metal surface, he saw a figure standing inside the cauldron. Not moving, not reacting, just standing. He said the most disturbing part wasn't the sight. It was the certainty that the figure was looking back. He left the facility immediately. He didn't clock out. He never returned. Management dismissed the rumors publicly. Privately, they began to track incidents. Absences increased. Turnover rose. People avoided shifts that placed them near the Ninth Cauldron. Eventually, a worker went missing. There was no alarm, no evidence of an accident. He simply didn't go home. His locker remained untouched. His last recorded location was near the Ninth Cauldron. Investigations found nothing conclusive. Cameras malfunctioned in that section. Footage skipped. Timestamps corrupted. The cauldron itself showed no anomalies. Work continued. It always does. The rumors changed after that. People stopped saying they saw the man. They started saying the man saw them. That the moment you noticed him, something changed. Not immediately, gradually. People reported dreams of standing in heat without pain, of watching others work, of waiting. Some woke up exhausted, others woke up calm, too calm. One worker said he dreamed of being inside the cauldron, looking out. He quit the next day. No one laughed anymore. The Ninth Cauldron became something else, not a machine, a boundary. People avoided it not because they were afraid of death, but because they felt it was easy to step into something irreversible, as if the cauldron wasn't a container, but a place, and places remember. By the time officials considered shutting the facility down, too many stories had accumulated. Not enough proof, just consistency, the same details, the same silence, the same avoidance. The Ninth Cauldron was eventually sealed, removed from operation, welded shut. No announcement was made. The rest of the facility continued functioning. Years passed, the rumors faded, but they never disappeared, because every now and then someone would mention it, quietly, that even sealed, even cold, the Ninth Cauldron was never empty. The factory did not want stories, it wanted output. So when the Ninth Cauldron was sealed, management treated it like a solved problem. Weld it shut, remove it from the schedule, tell people it is under maintenance, and wait for the fear to fade. For a while it worked. Workers stopped talking openly. Accidents decreased. New employees didn't ask questions. But the building still had memory. Even sealed, the Ninth Cauldron stayed at the end of the row, like punctuation. A final mark no one wanted to read. People began to notice smaller things. A faint metallic smell that wasn't present elsewhere. A subtle warmth in that corner, even when the system was off. A low hum that didn't match any machine rhythm. Maintenance crews were sent in to confirm nothing was active. They found nothing. No power draw, no heat source. Yet the sensation remained. The corner felt awake. There was an old electrician who had worked there long enough to remember when the Ninth Cauldron arrived. He never spoke about it in groups, but one night, after a long shift, he told a younger worker a version of the story that sounded less like rumor and more like confession. He said the Ninth Cauldron was never ordered, no purchase record, no approved installation plan. It appeared during a period when the factory was expanding quickly, when paperwork was messy and oversight was thin. A new subcontractor arrived, a crew no one recognized. They worked at night, they avoided conversation. In the morning, the Ninth Cauldron was there. It fit the row perfectly, like it had always belonged. Management assumed it was part of the expansion. No one questioned it because questioning meant delaying production. The electrician said the first strange incident happened within weeks. A man fell into one of the cauldrons, not the ninth, an earlier one. He was pulled out too late. The accident report was brief and clinical. After that, workers began hearing footsteps when the floor was empty. They blamed stress, they blamed grief, but then someone saw him. A man standing inside a cauldron that should have been impossible to survive. They described him the same way, still, upright, silent, and somehow always present only when you looked directly, as if peripheral vision couldn't hold him. The electrician believed the Ninth Cauldron became a place where the boundary was thinner. Not a gateway in the dramatic sense, more like an error in the building's logic, a spot where something that happened once could repeat without ending. He explained it with a phrase that didn't sound like superstition. It's the part of the system that doesn't resolve, he said. The younger worker asked why it always had to be the ninth. Why not the first? Why not the last? The electrician paused as if choosing words carefully. Then he said something unsettling. 8 is order, 9 is excess. He didn't mean numerology, he meant structure. 8 cauldrons made sense. They were planned, they were measured. The ninth was surplus, unaccounted for, a piece that didn't belong. And because it didn't belong, it didn't follow rules. Over time, stories formed around it, not from outside observers, from people who had worked there. They described the same sensation when standing near it, a tightening in the chest, a dryness in the mouth, a sense of being evaluated, not threatened, evaluated. Some said their thoughts became slower around it, as if the mind was struggling to maintain a normal rhythm. Others said time felt slightly delayed. Words came out half a beat late. Movements felt fractionally heavier, too subtle to prove, too consistent to ignore. A few workers claimed the Ninth Cauldron affected dreams. They would sleep and wake with the sensation that they had been standing for hours, not walking, not running, standing, in heat, surrounded by steam, hearing machinery from far away. They described the dream as more like a memory than a nightmare. One person said they woke with their hands smelling faintly of metal, though they had not been near the factory for days. When people began to disappear, the factory handled it like any other incident. Reports, procedures, interviews, no conclusions. But those who paid attention noticed patterns. The missing were often people who lingered near the Ninth Cauldron, people who spoke about it more than once, people who looked into it when they shouldn't have. The disappearances were never dramatic. No alarms, no screams, just absence. A worker doesn't come home, a phone goes unanswered, a locker remains untouched. Some were found later, days afterward, wandering far from the factory, disoriented and dehydrated. They couldn't explain where they had been. When pressed, they described the same thing: heat, steam, standing. They said time didn't pass correctly. One described looking up at the ceiling and seeing nothing but darkness, as if the space above him had no end. Another described hearing a voice say his name, not loudly, but inside his skull, as if the sound didn't travel through air. After these incidents, people stopped investigating. It became another unspoken rule: don't approach, don't look too long, don't talk about it with confidence, because confidence sounded like invitation. Years later, long after the Ninth Cauldron was sealed, a new management team decided to renovate. They wanted to modernize the facility, replace old equipment, remove unused machinery. The Ninth Cauldron was on the list. Welded shut or not, it was a dead asset, a hazard, a rumor. They hired contractors. They brought cutting equipment. The workers assigned to remove it reported resistance, not mechanical, not physical, psychological. They described losing focus near it, sudden dizziness, a pressure behind the eyes. One contractor quit midday without explanation. Another refused to enter the building again. The team leader insisted it was superstition. He approached the cauldron himself. He placed his hand on the metal. The surface was colder than everything around it. Not room temperature. Colder, as if it had been in shadow for decades. He leaned close and listened. He said later that he heard a sound. Not a hum, not a mechanical vibration. A steady breath. Slow. Patient. He pulled back immediately. He didn't speak. He didn't laugh. He simply stepped away and told the team to postpone the work. The renovation continued everywhere else. The Ninth Cauldron remained. It always remained. Because once a place becomes a story, removing it doesn't remove what it represents. Some people believe the man in the Ninth Cauldron was the result of trauma, a shared hallucination born from exhaustion and loss, a collective imprint. Others believe the Ninth Cauldron was connected to something more practical, a cover story for corruption, a symbol used to scare workers away from noticing something else. But none of those explanations address the one detail that repeats with unsettling accuracy. The man never asks for help. He never reaches out. He never moves. He simply stands there as if he has been placed, as if he is not trapped, but assigned. And that is what makes the story linger, because it suggests intention. It suggests the Ninth Cauldron is not an accident. It is a container for something that should not be contained. In the end, the factory continues to operate. It produces, it pays wages, it follows procedures, and the Ninth Cauldron remains sealed at the end of the road, like a closed mouth. No one talks about it during the day, but on certain nights, when shifts run late and the building grows quieter, workers still avoid that corner without thinking. They walk around it. They lower their voice. They keep their eyes forward, because even if nothing is inside, even if the stories are wrong, the feeling remains that some places do not belong to us once they have taken enough from people, that some objects become more than objects, that the Ninth Cauldron is not empty, it is waiting, and the man inside is still standing, not screaming, not moving, just present, as if he has all the time in the world. And if you look too long, the most unsettling thought isn't that you might see him, it's that you might recognize what he's waiting for, and that the next thing the Ninth Cauldron holds could be you.